Hi, Greta here. Do you ever have one of those days where you look around your house and everything is everywhere? It's complete chaos. You feel overwhelmed and cluttered because a cluttered house equals a cluttered mind? I do. I have that. So does one of my daughters. And whenever the house is starting to feel really crowded and chaotic, I can physically feel myself not being as productive. She's also the same. She just gets more frustrated. We both feel a little bit stifled. And I'm not saying that other members of my family like messes. I don't think very many people like messes. But I don't know that it bothers them as quickly or as badly as it bothers me and my one daughter. So over Christmas, we went ahead and gutted the house. I mean, every room, every drawer, every closet, every nook of our home, we gutted. We probably donated, my husband estimated it at 2,000 pounds worth of stuff. And it was multiple trips to our local donation store and multiple trips to the dump because there were things in the house that were either broken or not worth donating, but we aren't wasteful, so if it was donatable, we donated it. Just the things that weren't, it was missing a piece, or it was broken in some way, or it was just genuinely trash, we got rid of it. Now, I like to live with a clean house. My main objective is always to have things be neat and orderly. I really thrive in that environment. I've always been that way. But as any family understands, there are multiple people living here with multiple agendas in that department, and so sometimes it's just really hard to keep the house clean. And before you know it, the house is a mess. We have a pretty standard rule where at night, we do a quick cleanup before we go to bed. And that really, really helps because in the morning, obviously you wake up and things feel reset, and that's amazing. But where I'm going with all of this is that cluttered mind equals a cluttered life. When I got rid of all of that stuff, I suddenly felt very productive. And one way, like I could do anything. Because now my mind wasn't cluttered. It was free and clear and liberated from all of the noise that I was always seeing and the burden that I was feeling on the inside from just not everything having a home. I just feel like everything should have a home. If it doesn't have a home, it can't live here. But what I found was an interesting link. As soon as I cleared out the house, that cleared out my mind, which made room for more ways that I can minimize in my life, which leads into budget. Is it just me, or is there a total link between the two? Where can I minimize in my budget in these areas so that I can do other things in those areas? Have you ever had those situations where you're given 2 options and you're given 8 options? When you're given 8 options, you can't even decide. It's overwhelming. You're annoyed. When you're given 2 options, it's either that one or it's that one. You can make a clear decision and a pretty quick one of which thing you prefer more. It's a lot easier. I got rid of all of that stuff. Now I have 2 suitcases and 2 duffel bags. I have a few totes that serve different purposes, and I have a couple of backpacks that serve different purposes depending on where our trip takes us. But now I look at those things and I think I can go on a 3-night cruise and only take that bag. So what I realized is those things are all linked and connected, and that makes me realize that clutter in every sense, every part of our lives, clutter in our clothing, clutter in our stuff, clutter in our kitchen cabinets, clutter in our budget equals clutter in our minds. So as soon as we rid ourselves of all of that, now our minds become clear and we can make decisions going forward. Afterwards, I sat down at the computer and I went through our budget for the entire year for next year, which is my standard habit. I always do that. I always budget for the next full year. I don't budget by month or even by week. I budget for the full 12 months. And I find that's just to work a lot better for our lives. I can see every decision, every financial decision that we make, it shifts and changes something 12 months from now. And I think that whenever you only budget week by week or even month by month, or if you're a bi-weekly paycheck person, if you budget bi-week by bi-week, that's good. It's better than not having a budget. But why that doesn't work for me is because you can't really see the long-term effect. So if I were to go out and splurge on something today, and I know that I have a final balance due on a trip in 6 months, I now see that the surplus money that I have in the account 6 months from now is greatly affected by that splurge purchase today. And without that long-term vision, you don't know that. Everything just feels like it's out of sight, out of mind. I'll worry about that later. I'll deal with that later. Surely it won't be that big of a deal. When you can see those numbers change, it changes how you spend. So what do you guys do? Do you budget by week, by bi-week, by month, or by the year? I used to have a budget for years out. But what I found was it just shifted so much from year to year. We dropped that service, we gained that service, due dates were different. So I really grew to understand that year by year was enough and also still extremely beneficial. And it didn't cause me so much work on the back end having to shift all those little changes from year to year. That was a lot to keep up with because I wanted to make sure I didn't make any mistakes too. So year by year, not as much changes. So it's a lot easier to manage. So that's what I do. What do you do? Do you guys do something like that? Leave it in the comments. I've been considering creating a spreadsheet that is usable, like a file download, where you can use it as a template and you can plug in a budget that would go for the full year. Would that be interesting? Just let me know in the comments if it would, and I would consider creating that and making it available to you guys for free. Let me know.